Welcome everyone to the rugby bits and pieces, and we sort of try to figure out. I think Shaka, the idea came from trying to take probably from Chasing the Sun too, and seeing that the love we've gotten on YouTube and you guys enjoying watching our videos. So we decided to take our first phase. Officially, is our first phase basically is coming via YouTube, where it's shorts, 25 to 30 minutes, have a few chats, and something you guys can get little bite-sized pieces of what we talk about in rugby bits. We still have the pods as per normal, but I think this is something we can do if we can, if the weeks allow, maybe twice a week, once, but minimum once a week, where we have thoughts, share fun things, things that we normally chat about in the pod, but also just bite-sized pieces for people to enjoy on YouTube. We want to give those people some love because we saw how great the response was from Chasing the Sun too. So I'm not alone today, joined by Sharky. Sharky, how you doing, bud?
I'm a man. I'm fantastic. Got in some rugby this weekend and managed to get some camping in during the week. So it's pretty good balance with life at the moment.
That's a great balance. No, I just watched some rugby this weekend. A good bit of weekend of ruggers, so some sports as well. Like I'm trying to. I was saying to the missus the other day, like I'm trying to watch a lot more rugby than I was before. It's been busy, so trying to find a balance of watch a good amount of school rugby on Thursday and Saturday, and then obviously the Sharks, and then obviously the Champions Cup. So like we get so busy that I kind of like I normally sneak in a game or two, and then I'll sort of catch up on Sunday and on a Monday. But I said to her, like, I need to watch more rugby, unless like there's like I got a wedding going on and things like that. But yeah, so I got a healthy dose of rugby. But I think for the first phase on via YouTube, I think Sharky and I decided that we wanted to chat Springbok Bolters. So it's almost Springbok season. Hence, I mean, it's the two European competitions now. We know where the finals are. We know the season's coming to an end. URC is almost the playoffs time. So I think it was a perfect time for us to start wrapping our minds around the Springboks and which of the guys have played well, who are the Bolters, who are the sort of players that have stood out. And Sharky, I thought it'd be nice to go maybe position by position, naming one or two oaks that we feel like has been good, and then try and maybe put together a side at the end who most likely might be the side when you play against Wales. But I think for me, I think the distinction is trying to chat about guys who didn't go to the World Cup, but yes, they can have caps. But just talking about guys who didn't go to the World Cup, I think that's the big caveat, yeah. But in general, Shocky, I mean, a lot of Oaks have put their hands up this season, which has been exciting to see.
Yeah, it is exciting. What I am finding, which I'm even more excited about, is there's actually quite a lot of old boys that are putting their hand up as well. So, like there's this good balance. We could probably name a team of a bunch of guys that have been capped but haven't been in the fold for a while, or guys that are on the fringes, and a bunch of whole brand new guys all together. So yeah, it's been interesting looking through. It's sure. I know we were chatting off air. You put guys down that were not in the World Cup squad. I've gone for a complete mix. I was torn between a whole bunch of new guys and a whole bunch of guys that deserve a look in. It was quite weird, but yeah, it should be a good chat.
But Shaka, talking about old guys, I mean, I want to start a prop. Um, for my thinking for this was also like obviously probably Springbok needs. For example, you think prop isn't a big need for the Boks at the moment in terms of depth wise, but you look at someone like Thomas Tutoy, for example, who's just, I mean, Boss has named him the Players Player of the Year. He has probably had the best season of his career. So, I mean, he's been absolutely fantastic. And, for someone to just miss out on the World Cup squad, that's the sort of thing that Rassie wants to see. And Oak putting his hand up, playing both positions, tight head and loose head. But I think he's been phenomenal to start the season.
Yeah, he's definitely put his hand up. Again, he's always putting his hands up, though. That's the one interesting thing. You talk about it, like his move to Bath and how play going. How completely opposite is it for someone like Steven Kitsoff, who's made a move after the World Cup and it's just not really done well. Not that it's impacted his chances at all, but I agree with you, Thomas Tutoy. I think we thought that this previous World Cup cycle, he'd probably get more in and kind of take his spot, because as much as we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to Springbok rugby, with like props, you have a guy that comes in and it's generally the next cab on the rank, and he takes his step up and then he holds unless something crazy goes on. But he's definitely put a shot in, and as you mentioned, one big thing that the Springbok coaches definitely love, but obviously all coaches love it, is having a prop that can play on both sides is wild.
Yeah, 100%. And also he does come with a bit of experience. I mean, he's got a few caps and shame. I just feel like both 2019, I think 2019 he went as cover, so at least he has one World Cup medal, and then 2023 sort of it's one of those things where you sort of it's just the quality of props that we have. One has to miss out, but I want to go to an uncapped prop now. I think probably being the prop of the season domestically, and that has to be Neetling for sure. I mean, I think
Yes,
it's funny how the props now is. I mean, the two props we've mentioned. Sometimes you think Bolter, you're thinking a 21-year-old. I mean, Neetling for sure is 31 years old. I mean, Thomas Tuchel is also in his 30s, but this shows the Oaks have stepped up and with something like Neetling, it's like I can't. You almost have to. He has to get a look in.
absolutely. He absolutely has to. Not only like he's not only playing well, I know I mentioned it previously, but he's also been in the mix with Kitsov and Malherbe for a while now. Like you can't if you don't take anything away from spending time with those two, then you don't deserve it. He, on the other hand, he's been incredible. He has got massive captain vibes for me as well. I would love. I think that he seems like that kind of guy. He's got a good sense of humor, but he seems to be having a lot of fun. I thought he was unlucky not to. I thought he might have got a shout in last year. There were a couple of guys that were probably in the mix, but just due to it being a World Cup year, there was no wiggle room. But I've got him as my loose head in my team that I'd like to see start, and he's the difference for him. And there'll be a few of them, but he's the kind of player that's going to go into the Springbok squad as a player to go forward. He's not going to be one of those one-off guys. Unfortunately, we're going to see a bunch of guys getting capped, or might see guys picking up one or two caps and then falling away for whatever reason. Neetling Fouché is the real deal, and he's got what it takes. He's going to go and go far. And like I said, I'd love to see him captain, but a couple of guys in front of him.
No, 100%. I think, and he also looks like a sort of guy that will fit in immediately in the ball culture. I think you get certain players that in cricket they do it quite a bit where sometimes like a guy like a Mike Hussey or we've had like a Stephen Cook who comes in their 30s. They've played about 7 to 8, 10 years of domestically, and they sort of understand the highs and lows of professional sport, but they come in and they're level-headed. They're not as rash as a youngster coming in, and they just sort of fit in straight away. And it's someone like Neetling Fouché. I think you add such tremendous value in a box sort of set up as someone who can possibly go to the next World Cup, but also can play in a leadership position. Like look at someone like Dion Fourie, for example. Like he ends up captaining the last half of the World Cup final because of the experience he's had through, maybe not experience international, but just an experienced rugby player of what the highs and lows and everything the game has to see. So I think there's someone, even like Thomas Tuchel, is almost in the same mold as well. I think, which especially props, I think the Boks need. But for me, my ultimate probably Bolter, someone who could possibly, you never know, gets a cap or not, but someone like Asanathi Tlabaganye, as someone that I thought he's really impressed me because of his. He reminds a lot of Franz Malherbe in terms of, I mean, probably similar body structure, good in the scrums, gets around a lot more than you actually think, works so hard. I just, I think for the Lions, he's gotten better and better each season. And this season, you could see the better he's gotten, the better that the Lions pack has gotten. I mean, it's not a mean feat. It's a mean feat to keep Rowan Dre on the bench, for example.
Absolutely. That's such a great shot. He's one a little bit off my radar on my my props that I put together, but there's a great one. He'd be a true bolter, but I agree totally. He's been the foundation's always set up front, as we all know. The backs hate to admit it, but it's the truth. But he's been doing it for the Lions. Look how they've been growing. Like you don't do that without a solid pack, and to keep Ruan Dreyer on the sidelines is huge. So that's a great call, Kooks.
I think at Hooker's a strange one for the Springboks because I definitely think we need a third hooker because obviously Marks, you don't know how he'll be. He's rumored to be back for the Ireland test, but he hasn't played. And Bongi, I mean, obviously Bongi going in the future. I mean, Bongi is, I mean, also in his 30s and one of the elder statesmen. And obviously, I mean, in the top dog, he thinks he can go on forever. But I definitely think we do need a third hooker. And I think someone, hard to call him a bolter, but I think Johan Grobler, for example, has been knocking on that door for a few years now. And I think it kind of does feel like he's probably next in line.
Absolutely. For me, the number 3 hooker is between Grobler and Dweber. I still think Dweber might get. I think he still might get another chance somewhere along the line. Whether it's going to be long term, we'll just have to wait and see. But Grobler for me would be ahead of him. He's got that big hooker. He doesn't obviously offer as much on turnovers. He does offer, but not as much as Malcolm Marx and Bongi does. But he's just a big, solid hooker. He's the kind of guy that's going to just dig his heel in and do all that shitty work. And we know how much, every team needs that guy that goes unseen but does all the graft. And the Springbok coaches and international coaches see that and love it. And to have someone like that as your hooker, it's golden. So he's going to be probably next cab on the rank for me.
What about? I find it interesting that the first alignment camp that was called, we saw Andre Hugo Venter called up. I think he's also a very solid hooker. What do you make of him? And I agree with you in terms of I also would give Dweber another chance. I think his throwing has improved and he has been playing well. I think the Stormers have got a good collection of hookers who have all had good seasons. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe to see both Dweber and Andre Hugo Venter in that mix. But what's your take on Andre Hugo Venter?
Venter for me it took a while for him to grow on me. It was only after probably a couple months of him playing where everyone was like, you should get a chance. And I started watching him. If it comes down, I think he's still probably third of the 3 that we're talking about. I think Grobler will probably be first. Dweber will very likely get a look in. I think he's got the inside track to get another chance. Venter I think it would be quite a bit of work for him to get in the mix and stay there. But maybe that's the kind of environment he needs, He's talented. He's got what it takes. But both the Stormers hookers do struggle a little bit with their darts. And it's probably the reason why Dweber didn't go to the World Cup. I think he pretty much carries himself well all around the park. I think it would be a little bit challenging for Venter and Dweber to go, just purely because I don't think it's their strongest suit as a hooker. Obviously, that's just about practice and about confidence and stuff, and it comes in time and it comes in patches as well. Sometimes the guys hold on to it forever. But yeah, that would be a Bolter in my mind, especially in the hooking department.
And then I think you should go to the locks. I think the Boks, these Springbok Bolters, unfortunately, our pack stocks are our pack is so stacked at the moment that all the fun is actually in the backs. But you look at lock. Lock is an interesting one because I mean it's been interesting season. I think by far the best pack has been the Bulls, and I think a lot of their players will get some love, and I think obviously them and the Stormers in terms of pack wise, the Sharks guys. I mean the Sharks pack is basically the Springbok pack, and then the Lions pack. I mean the other guys have obviously put their hands up, but at lock, Sharky, I think for my Bolters, I mean I've got Ruben van Heerden, obviously was in the alignment camp, but he's been good. Ron Nokia, I mean he's. It does feel like Ron Nokia is next man up as well, almost in that Thomas Tutoy mold where if someone had to go down, you probably get the next call up to sort of be in that mix. And also my big Bolter, I want to see your take on this one, is Reinhard Ludwig. I think he has been phenomenal for the Bulls. I think he's someone that's sort of come out of the blue from nowhere. I mean, Ludwig has been, another team discovering another South African lock coming through the ranks. Just like Sharky, who would have thought?
It's I know you kick a tree and another loose 4 drops out. Now we've got to get another analogy for our locks. I agree with you on Van Heerden. I think he should start. I got for Markdown as well. Ludwig, I had a look at. I thought that he would probably only be an out and out 5, but I think they could probably move him a little bit to see what happens. To be fair, you can't go wrong with what's happening at the Bulls and the Stormers. I think Salman Marat, just purely because he got a look in and then got injured and that kind of fell away. He'd probably start. He obviously has that leadership ability too. So I think Salman Marat starts. Number 5, it could be very interesting. Nokia, I don't think he played the last game. I'm not sure if he's injured or if he's out for long, or it could just be the Bulls' rotation policy. They've got that down pretty well at the moment. But the number 5 would probably come out of the Bulls. I think you're right there. Ludwig, He's a big human, man. And as you say, just flying under the radar, putting in great performances, and voila, probably gets a call up.
He's definitely grown and grown as the season's going. I think there's a few guys when you look at the Sharks. I mean, I have like I like the look of like Emil van Heerden, but I do think I don't think he's not where van Heerden or Kier are. I think he's sort of just a notch below, which is not, I mean, it's no slight. I mean, obviously it's his first full season almost as a starter, but I think those are, if you go forward, I think those are the sort of the next best crops of locks, and someone like Nokia, especially and Murat's a great shot, because I mean those are guys that have just been on the fringes, have gotten caps, but just obviously you're still fighting out with Mostert, Earben, so and then now you can add someone like a Van Heerden.
So I noticed the Bone Collector hasn't got a mention from you. The guys, he's
One
still
last
doing
run.
it.
Yeah,
I know. I don't know if anyone saw his video, his clips of him dancing. He seems to be having a lot of fun in the changing rooms before and after the games.
Surely we can give him an ending against Portugal. Put him at 4 lock. He's playing lock for the Lions. Surely we can give the Bone Collector one last run.
I think number four lock would be a great shot. They would shit themselves though. Let's be honest. The Bone Collector pitches up. I think everyone was quietly thanking their lucky stars when he moved away from the Springbok setup. But he deserves one last goodbye. Love to see him at 4.
Oh no, I think one of the ultimate fan favorites. And then at Lucy gets very interesting because again, it's a position where we are stacked in, but it's a position where there's form. And I think when I mentioned, I mean, Eric Lowe, Kumede, Hanegom, we've spoken about at length, sort of the season going. I think obviously those are the 3 front runners. And Sharky, I think they should be in I think they will make the squad, all those 3. And then, I mean, Russ as well. So, I mean, those are guys I think that will be in the squad. I mean, whether it's the main squad or against Wales, I think those are the guys who will be in the squad. But I'm going to give you your time now, Sharky, to hype up BJ Dixon again. You'll do this every week. And I know all you want is time to have a BJ Dixon.
Yeah. You must notice that I didn't put him at 5. I'm just saying, like you knew it was either 5 or blindside flank. So I'm going to jump ahead now. My loose trio, which thought would be quite interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but it would be good fun. I got Buthelezi on open. I would prefer to see him a move away from the 8, and go into the open side. I got BJ Dixon at loose blindside. He's putting in Pieter-Steph du Toit efforts of tackles. Like he's that guy that just does it over and over. He's got some good ball handling. Obviously good line out option 2, and I've got Hanekom at 8. But yes, a blindside flank, BJ Dixon. If there's anyone that has put their hand up just because of his ability to move between the lock and the loose forwards, but he's just been smashing people very quietly. I wouldn't say flying under the radar. I think the commentators and a lot of people have done really well to pick up his workforce, his work ethic. But yeah, Dixon's got to start for me on blind.
It's one of those players, like there's certain players like, you know, who you play and you watch like, oh, okay, he's the perfect number 7, perfect flank for the Springboks, or perfect lock who fits in the Springbok mold. And I think this ties into what I speak about now in terms of like Achieva Daimani, who I absolutely love, and I would love to see him in the mix. I think what hurts him for me in terms of say like it's the Kwagga Smith factor in terms of the Boks have already a Lucy in their main squad who offered something a lot different that no one else does, which is sort of not in the same mold as Springbok. But yes, obviously he wins all these battles, but it does in a completely different way. And I think someone like Achieva, it's he can offer almost something the same, but a completely different sort of outlook in terms of ball in hand and what he can do with the ball. But I think obviously for the main squad, I think you'd almost be fighting on with Kwagga in that sort of role as that surprise element for it. But I still love to see him against Wales or possibly Portugal. I think his form he has put his hand up all season, and I do think it's something for the Boks to have a look at in terms of like say Tony Brown to be like to have a different element in there that you never know you might need, a different kettle of fish in there. And I think in that bulk pack is we know what you expect. You know what you're going to get. And I think we have the Kwagga already in terms of a different option. I think Daimani can also bring that different option in as well.
100%. I'd love to see him get a look in. I'm glad, unfortunately, it's been at his detriment, but I'm glad that Dobbo is keeping him at 8 and Roos, so that's kind of the fight out at the moment. Obviously, after his injury, he seems to be struggling to get back. If we're going to play him, if we are going to play him at 8, I don't feel we can play him anywhere else. If we're going to play him at 8, we most certainly can't have Buthelezi at 6.
Yeah.
Khaleesi could fill that role. He won't be available in the beginning, but we would probably have to have 2 6.5s play, like a Dixon and someone else, someone that's really willing to do that hard graft. And if that was going to happen, in order for Diamani to really cook, we probably need 2 more experienced guys. So I think if Diamani comes in at 8, we're going to have 2 of the old boys on the flank. But I still think he's got what it takes. He's not in the form he was last season, but players have shown they can get back into the groove. He seems very motivated. The way he comes across, the way he's playing, what he's doing, and everything. He seems still very motivated, despite the setback of not getting a book call up and the setback of the injury. So when you talk about guys in the team and the balance, he would be quite a fun one to have. He's quite out there, and in terms of the book environment, they could probably do with something like that. I don't think it would be bad. I don't think he's like so out there that it'll be detrimental to the book setup. So having him there would be incredible. A man of the match awards against the All Blacks punting his business is what I'm here for.
100%. No, me too. I think it's a nice, great variation that we could have. And I think just quickly before you go to the backs, so I think if you look at the guys overseas, the Lucy's, especially overseas, I mean, it's the likes of Jean-Luc Dupree, Dan Dupree. I'll never give up on Heino Liebenberg getting a Bok cap. I think our stocks at loose forward are pretty strong. I think for the guys overseas, the hard thing is there's so many guys domestically that put their hands up, waiting for a chance that some of them might just miss out.
Yeah, talk about players overseas. I was actually forgot to mention, I wrote it down, but John Augustus is
great.
He's got to be in the mix. He's been doing well, especially in the Champions Cup. I find it very interesting, that era of under 20 players of the tournament. Jordan Joseph and John Augustus all really went under the radar after that tournament, after their tournaments. And I thought, he's done really well there. He's been kind of going through his business, sorting himself out, probably set up nicely now to stay at 8 and kind of make it his own. But he just seems to go about his business very quietly. And I think someone asked him about a book call up during the week or last week, and he said he hasn't heard from anyone, but he'd like to do his talking on the field, which, it's the way of the world. If they don't talk to you, say, oh, they'll do my talking on the park. But he's been doing that. So he's definitely there. Like, it's not a blip on the radar. It's someone that's there on the radar, and you need to figure out if you want to use him or not. But we've got options. Like, we've got tight 8s, we've got loose 8s, we've got like old 8s who know all the tricks. We've got young guns who haven't figured out how to fail yet. Like Hanekom, super dynamic. Like, he hasn't figured out how the world will get on top of him if it doesn't work. So like, we've got so many options, and it's all about that balance and what we want to do.
Yeah, that's very exciting. But talking about excitement, time to get the backs. I think this is where it's really at. I think amount of fun that Springbok fans have had on Twitter and going into. I think it's one of the most anticipated squad announcements in a while because of the number of exciting backs that have come through. But I think at 9, the first name that jumps into your mind is probably Stanley Namba. 9 or 10, because I think that's the interesting one. But we'll chat about Nohamba. For me, see him as a 10. I think 10 is where he plays most of his rugby. So I think as my Bolter is at 10. But at 9, Shockey, I think we're looking at the likes of Paul de Wet. You're looking at the likes of Morne van der Berg, who's been solid. And then I think who else at 9 has sort of stood out for you as well?
Ambrose Papier.
So
he's been incredible for 2 seasons in a row. For me, Williams has to be at 9. It's, even though he went to the World Cup and he showed things, I think he needs that time in the Springbok jumper at 9. It's quite clear that they value him. So that, for me, would be really where we need to go moving forward. But I think Paul de Wet, in the URC title-winning run, Paul de Wet was on fire. Right now, he's there and thereabouts. I thought Herschel Jantjies has been playing pretty well. Like, he's been in the mix. He's really been struggling with his form. But Ambrose Papier, for me, I don't see Morne van der Berg in the mix. Like, I don't see him there with what we've got. Nohamba, for me, ironically, if he's going to make it, he's going to make it at 9 for me. And I know it's weird saying that we've got 1,000 9s. I just don't know how that will set up will fit within the Springboks. You know, you obviously don't want guys to be in the mix for a one-off game. This is not a barbarians thing. We do need to obviously work on Test rugby. I think perhaps under the Sharks he was playing and kind of boxed in with what was required of him. Now at the Lions, Cash has given him freedom to do what he wants, like he's all over. Is that the best way for him to operate? I would think so. Will it work best at the in the Springboks? I'm not sure. But if they are going to play him at 10, you absolutely need to have rock solid 10, 12, 13, rock solid 9, rock solid 15. So that kind of changes that whole scenario. But for him to get a look in at 10, it would be incredible. It's one of those stories that we love. It's what you want to hear, you want to see. And then once that happens, you want to go out and have a good performance. So then he starts putting pressure on everyone. But yeah, it would be a shot. Manny is starting at 10 for me. You know, he'll be available. He's starting at 10. You've got Jordan Hendrickse, who probably gets a look in. I don't know. We'll get onto 10s now, but I don't think Nhamba makes it in as a 10 for me if we have a look at the list of who's in front of him.
I think it's a tough one. I think if you look at 10, I think it was 9. I mean, I think we have what 84 scrum offs who are all Bok ready and all in form. But I think at 10, I mean, there's only one name, it's probably Tia Masuku, who has been the form 10 in South Africa for about, I mean, the last 6-7 weeks or so. And obviously 4 straight man in the match awards. And we've seen how well he's going at the moment. And I just feel shocked with Masuku. I feel like he's passing almost every single test and ticking every box. See him with ball in hand. Okay, how's he going to do in Europe overseas? Okay, cool. How's he going to do in a tight playoff game? Kicks 8 out of 8. If he doesn't get those
from the sideline,
the Sharks lose the game. Like his boot kept the Sharks in that game in the first half, and that's showing value of having a good kicker. And yes, he wasn't flawless in that first half, but for me, he keeps showing enough each week to be like, oh, this Oak is doing the right things as a fly, showing the right things that if you're a national coach, you'll be pleased with.
Yeah, he's not entering the Springbok fold like a hot knife through butts. He's kind of bashing that door down with a mallet. You know, he does make errors. I think the way he recovers from them is excellent. It shows actually, ironically, that the environment in the Sharks is pretty good. Like he's getting a lot of love in order to do that. He's really he has to get a look in, almost has to. There are a couple of guys in front of him. And unpopular opinion, but Johan Goosen has been playing pretty well at 10. I know he's injured at the moment. He's really done the business. There's so many old guys and so many new guys. It's quite interesting how it's going to get set up. Masuku, his conversions when the Sharks winning the semi-final in a game he was under massive pressure. He was kicking from the touchline. He was like they weren't ahead for long periods. They were struggling. They weren't playing well as a team. It shows a great little bit of headspace, and it's something that the Springbok coaches will definitely be looking at. You know, he's come through the mix. He's walked a long journey. He's got that same Manny Lubbock, Dion Fourie vibe where they just haven't got a look in. They haven't got any love anywhere. They've just really got and grafted really hard for the love of the game to earn a living. And now all of a sudden it's starting to come right. And, you know, that's a great mindset to have. I mean, you saw in Chasing the Sun too, it was all about like just how poor things are, how much you need to do for everyone else, how you don't deserve to be there. Sorry, how you don't belong there, but not that you don't deserve it. Like you'd never have expected that. And thousands and millions of people have walked that journey and not made it. So it's a different vibe he has and all of the South Africans have.
No, I love that. I think it's a perfect way to wrap up the 10s. And you look at the centers, I put the centers 12 and 13. Shocky, I'm going to say something now, which I think this Oak deserves his love. I think Maurice Lowe has been the best center in South African center in the URC. I think he's been, and since he's left the Lions, he's been good and he's gotten better and better. And it's a funny one at 12 because I know we've got Willemse and Sasha, and Sasha obviously is in the 10-12 mold as well. But I just think in terms of consistency, he's been very good the last 2 seasons, especially this season. He's been good, and it's a fun one because he's almost in the middle. He's not a big busting carrying 12 or slicky 12, almost a second playmaker who come and play the 10. He's almost the best of both worlds. And I think obviously at the line that sort of freed him up. And he's sort of gone on the radar, but every time you blink, he's 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, solid compare. And I just think he's been in such good form. And I was going watching the highlights today, and I'm like, Jesus, look at him. He constantly is playing rugby, constantly makes a good decision, good leader as well.
Yeah, he's got a lot going for him. He didn't quite sneak in for me. I think probably the last couple of months he's kind of dropped off a little bit. I think everyone's maybe used to his performances, but he's been leading the Lions and he's been doing such a good job for them. 12, probably, I would probably go for Creel at 12. You know, he's...
I was thinking Creel for the back, but Creel's been fantastic as well.
Yeah, David Creel has been excellent. He's kind of moved all around. That guy's played everywhere except 9. I'm sure he's squeezed in a 10 every now and then. He's a big guy. He's got good silky hands. You know, he doesn't have a 12 mindset. I think he approaches the game as like a 15 or a more of an outside back, or perhaps a 10. So having him at 12 will open up some new stuff for us. I would love Maurice Lowe to get it. I think Creel will have his chance. Maurice Lowe doesn't have many more left in him. You know, there's a lot of Lions guys that have really put their hand up, and you're kind of looking at it going, sure, they deserve it. But then you kind of look at the Lions and you're like, oh, it's the Lions, you know, would they be used to it? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, they're kind of, you know, it's the Lions have been doing well, but so Lowe would be a good shot. Actually, that would be a proper Bolter.
And what about 13?
I got Lukhanyo on. I know it's boring, but we've got enough 13s, I think. And Jesse can take us through. Moody will be in the squad. He'll get some chances, but Lukhanyo's got to be there. I think he adds a lot. He's obviously trying to. Well, he's got his fitness back, but he needs to get that test match fitness back. I'd still love to see some more tests from him. I think him and Mapimpi deserve just for what they've done for us, you know, deserve a little bit more. I'd love to see them play a little bit more, but I think Lukhanyo, I'm at 13. A couple of guys have been putting their hand up, but I think it's pretty clear. It's like
I'll say there has been guys putting their hands up, but it does still feel there's a bit of a gap between Creel and the next. But I wouldn't say there's been someone at 13 that sort of like Masuku like barged the house down. Or like look at 12, there's Hooker. He's come off great. Ethan Hooker's look good, and he said like David Creel. But there's no one at 13 that you could say like if you lost Creel and today, you'd be like okay, Moody's probably next. But you go but okay, is he getting mistakes and Moody's probably is probably the next third option because he's played the 13 recently. But I think that you actually have Henko van Beek, but he's also with injuries. But there hasn't been anyone at number 13. I think that's something it does slightly concern me that hasn't actually came and just knocked the door up. I mean, maybe possibly you can show someone like Dan du Plessis in there, also another Bolter who's been very good as well. It just seems that we just really blessed at 12. And I think Dan du Plessis as well, ironically, he's probably played his best rugby at 12, but he can also obviously play both roles. Well, I think maybe someone at the 13 answer may come from someone like a Dan Creel who's played 13, or a Dan du Plessis who can play 12 and 13, where I think that may be the answer there.
Yeah, it's tough one. I honestly think like right now moving into the Island series, if we lose and Creel, I think they'll probably move Delendi to 13. I think like that will be the case. I do Moody's definitely next in line. I think that's what everyone needs to really understand. 13 is probably like a propping position in terms of like you grow into that position. You love it, you can do it, but you've got to grow into it, you know. I think it's pretty clear with what sort of and Creel have done. Moody will get his chances. It is going to be probably a transition that will take a year, probably the end of the year. Maybe after that will he only really move in there. Fortunately, we don't have to have him on the wing or at fullback. I think we pretty much covered there. I think we're in a good space, so there's opportunity for him to do that. But there's no doubt about it that Rassie Erasmus has looked at that 13 and seen like a gaping hole, because a couple of guys have put their hands up, but no one's really followed through. I think Henko van Beek was a good shot for a while. Picks up a couple of injuries. I think that Springbok SAA sort of tour, was it November? Can't remember when it was, before the World Cup. Just I think he struggled. That whole team wasn't in a great space, to be fair. But yeah, Moody would probably be next. I think as an attacking option, he's incredible, but 13 is about a lot more than that. And he himself said, he's found out that he was exposed in that position on defense, and you can actually see it in a game. It's actually quite clear. The thing is, he's working hard. He's sort of highlighted it, and he'll be our next 13. But it will take a while. It's going to take some heart sore for him and the team and for the fans. Like, they've got to understand it's the kind of position you've got to really stick with people.
It's like he's only 21, so that'll be fine. I mean, we've seen that.
That's crazy.
That's a crazy part. And I think if you look at the back three, I think it's an interesting one, because I think obviously at wing we do feel stacked. I mean, names like Edel van der Merwe pop into my mind, as someone who's done who's been good for the Lions. But again, when you're competing the likes of Curtly Orange, Kane and Moody, it does make your life difficult. But I think for me, in terms of back three, I think Sharky probably the biggest name, and who has put his hand up probably the most, probably April Fassi. I think he has had the season that I think as Sharks fans and on Twitter, the Church of Fassi has been waiting for a long time. I think he has been really, really good, and it's just really great to see him back at his best, because we all know what a good rugby player he is, and so I'm just glad to see he's back to his best. And I think there are things he has sorted out. His defense was a big. I know he must have tackled a big tackle on the weekend, but overall his defense has improved as he's going. His kicking has improved. His kicking has come a long way. Those guys, and his kicking has improved. And the things that they said that he struggled with, you can see they become better, and he's become a more well-rounded fullback.
Yeah, there's a fire in the chest of Fassi that's happening, and it's real. There were rumors that he didn't quite fit in, or had a bit of a personality clash, or probably wasn't working as hard as he should have in the Springbok setup. He was struggling a little bit with form. I think all of that together, kind of hurts you as an individual. The one thing's clear, I mean, Rassie Erasmus has been in the mix for a while. You've got to be buddies with him, and you've got to really sort it out. And he's clearly done that. He's playing good rugby. The Springbok coaches always talk about sending players away with like a pathway. He's clearly onto that, sorting it out. It's working in the Sharks. There's a good environment there. It's probably a good shot to bring him in. At 15, I think Tyron Green, I'd love to see Green and Fassi like both fighting out for that next 15 jumper. I think 15 first choice is sorted. Who's going to be next, and then take their chance. Green has shown the last couple of weeks, especially for the South African fans who don't watch him as much, he's shown really that he actually is the goods. He's starting to gain that form that he had before his injury, that form that he had where he was almost a shoe-in into a Springbok squad. Get him in, see what he's got. He's moved to Quins, he's done the business, and he could fill in that Lions quota that we need in the Springbok squad, having played for them previously. But I think him and Fassi right now are the right 15s. Gelant, ironically, not really a bolter. It could be actually because of how, his journey. He went to France, he was in Paris with Racing, and then he came back, and he's always taken a long time to get back in the groove. He's not the kind of player that comes back after a setback, whether it's an injury or being dropped. He's not the kind of player that really comes back and just knocks the door down. He really takes slow steps to get going, and he's getting that. I think he should be in the conversation. He is an option. But right now, Green and Fassi probably first and second choice for me.
Yeah, and on the wings, for your starting as well, we have on the wing.
I got Curtly Orange and Moody on the wing. I think both of them could do with some extra game time, but we don't need to rest any of them. I think Moody would be great. I think for his growth to be on the wing, especially for that move to center, which is pretty clear is happening, is a good thing. You're going to learn on the park. But he covers 15 as well. I think Moody's going to be a fixture in the Springbok squad for a long, long time. And as you mentioned, he's 21, which is crazy. I forgot how young he was. But yeah, I tell you, if there's a bolter for anyone, it would probably be Van der Kok in my mind. He's so busy and he's so crazy on the field. He will never let you down in terms of what he has to do. He's going to clean. You're going to send the ball wide. He will clean that ruck. He'll clean that ruck like a freaking psychopath. He probably would be a great bolter and someone that I think I would like to see. There are a couple of guys in the mix that would go, and it would be okay if Cook didn't make it. But I think I would love to see that for him. All those sevens guys have taken that step out and really wanted to play 15s and play for the Springboks. And I think he's done a hell of a lot. Again, the Sharks players have gone through a lot in the last 3-4 years as a squad, as a team, as a whole sort of business and environment. And they've all lived through that and worked through that. And now they're in the space that they are now. They're on the verge. They're 80 minutes away from playing Champions Cup rugby next year in a season that was long gone. Like when the Challenge Cup started, we were like, yeah, always they've got the players on paper, they can do it. But now they've gone and done it. And they've done it with a couple of key players that are really putting their hand up. I think the forwards have done really well for the Sharks. They've, in general, have been the group that have carried the team. And the backs just never got it together. And they're starting to do it now. And it's all working pretty nicely. So I think Van der Kok would be a good shot. I would love to see him. Just me personally. I think for him in a Springbok jump to play a test match would be amazing.
100%. But Shocky, as you wrap up our first little first phase, I just think the nice thing for this, I mean, this exercise we've done for Springbok fans, also the idea for this, I thought of it, is just to give us some relief and some, before whatever happens, just know we're in a good place. I mean, we just discussed a Springbok squad potentially about we spoke about 26 odd players, and that's even mentioning the likes. We haven't talked about the first
team
players, like the first team, and I mean the likes of like Vincent Chutuka, Skumuza Noche, and guys like that who we haven't even talked about. Aka van der Merwe. I mean, guys like that we haven't spoke about. So it makes me excited to know as we go into this new phase and this new 4-year run. And Rassie spoke about it when he got his doctorate, saying that we never got this in 2020, and we have to play, and we have to play a lot more young guys. So it's going to be interesting the path they take. But Sharky, thank you so much. Always good to chat Springbok Bolters, and everyone, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube page on all your Spotify, all your podcasting platforms, and looking forward to you hear more from us from our proper pod at Rugby Bits. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Sharky.
Ciao.